Hello and welcome. My name is Trevor Congleton, and I'm the Associate Vice President for Marketing and Enrollment Services. As you know, we are here today to talk about how families and students utilize financial aid in order to help pay for college. Today's presentation has been designed to help you understand the financial aid process and how financial aid can help you become a part of the Walla Walla University family. One of the best parts of my job is watching our students become part of that family as they discover their career paths and develop their characters. While they're here, they're prepared not only for successful careers, but also for a life of learning, a life of service to others, and most importantly, a life of faith in God. We know that right now, one of the biggest questions you're facing is how to pay for college. We want to help address all of your questions in this presentation because the Walla Walla University experience is one of a kind, and we believe that it's definitely worth the investment. Not only do our students receive a top-notch education, they spend their college years in an environment that is conducive to a Christian lifestyle and have many intentional opportunities to engage in service to others. We provide a supportive, faith-friendly environment for our students as they begin to stand on their own in their spiritual journey. One of my favorite ways we support our students spiritually, emotionally, and academically is by matching all of our new students with mentors. These are Christian individuals who share Walla Walla University's values and goals and who meet with them regularly to check in to see how things are going and to guide them through that first year away from home. So let's get to the topic at hand today, how to pay for college. To help guide us in discussion, I've asked Carrie Butler, one of the financial aid advisors in our Student Financial Services office, and Mindy Coleman, Guest Relations Coordinator, to join us. You can see their pictures there on the screen. At any time during this presentation, if you have a question, you can ask it by typing it in the chat box. We'll get to all of your questions at the end of the presentation, which should take us roughly about 30 minutes or so. If you'd like to download the slides that we'll be covering in this presentation, you can download them through the link in the panel on the right side of your screen. All right, Carrie and Mindy, let me turn it over to you and let's get started.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk with you about the financial aid process. Okay, Carrie, let's start at the very beginning. How much does it cost to attend Walla Walla University?
The figures you see on the screen are the upcoming school year's expenses for a full-time student. In addition to tuition, housing, and food, there are variable expenses for things like books and miscellaneous expenses. And you may have seen some news stories on state universities increasing their tuition significantly. A good margin to calculate on a year-to-year basis for Walla Walla U is 3 to 4%. And surprisingly, when you factor in all the expenses, including housing and food, as well as the great scholarship programs we have at Walla Walla University, it can actually cost less than other four-year colleges. And we've also calculated that for most students, it's less out of pocket to go 4 years to Walla Walla University rather than starting at a community college and transferring to Walla Walla U later on.
There are several factors that play a role here. We have lower housing and cafeteria costs. We have a generous scholarship program, which we will talk about in a few minutes. Washington State has a great need grant program for its residents, and Washington State also has one of the highest minimum wage rates in the U.S. So our students are able to earn more money while they're here. We also have strong on-campus work program, and we've been proactive in encouraging off-campus employers to hire our students. So there are lots of opportunities for students to find work. Most of our students have a job while they're in school, and most of them work on campus. This benefits students both financially and academically. We've studied the GPAs of our students who work on campus, those who work off campus, and those who don't work at all. Those who work on campus had a slightly higher GPA than the rest. Because of Washington State's higher than average minimum wage laws, we estimate that students working 15 hours a week will earn about $3,000 more per school year than a student working the same number of hours at a state that only pays the federal minimum wage. When you come to visit our campus, you will have an opportunity to talk with potential employers and learn more about student employment and what positions might be available to you. A lot of our new students find their job during Jumpstart or the first week of classes. So if you get to September and you don't have a job, don't panic. It's totally normal. Walla Walla University, in compliance with the state of Washington, has a sick pay benefit that most schools do not provide. You will accrue 1.6 hours of sick time for every 40 hours that you work. If you are sick, we know that it's important for you not to go to work.
So, in addition to student employment, there is financial aid available to help students and parents pay for college, and this can include grants, scholarships, and loans. Grants are usually awarded based on financial need and they do not have to be repaid. Scholarships are usually awarded based on achievement or criteria other than need and also do not have to be repaid. Low-interest loans are offered either through Walla Walla University or the federal government, and we also expect most of our students will work while they're in school and contribute 8 to 10,000 toward their college expenses from both their school year earnings and summer savings. Last year, we processed more than 42 million in financial aid, and that made our average award more than 31,000 per student, and we awarded aid to 94% of our students.
Carrie, would you walk us through the steps to apply for financial aid?
Sure, Mindy. Students can apply for financial aid by filling out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, or the CSS, the College Scholarship Service Profile. Students who are U.S. citizens or are permanent residents with a green card will fill out the FAFSA, and students who are not eligible to complete the FAFSA but can demonstrate financial need may fill out the CSS. Since most students will fill out the FAFSA, I'll go over that information first and then follow up with more information about the CSS. The first step for U.S. citizens and permanent residents of the U.S. is to apply for an FSA ID from the federal government. Students, you're going to need one, and parents, if you've applied before, maybe for another child, you won't need a new one. But if you don't already have one, you'll need to apply. The easiest place to apply for an FSA ID is at fafsa.gov. That's FAFSA.gov. So to be clear, students, you'll have your own FSA ID, and parents, you will have your own FSA ID. Each individual has a unique ID and will use that same FSA ID each year for signing the FAFSA. And you may also use it for signing certain federal documents. Parents, you will have one FSA ID and will use the same ID each year for all of your children. Tax information will be required on the FAFSA, so be sure to file taxes for 2024 if you haven't already done that. The second step for U.S. students is to complete the free application for federal student aid, which is known as the FAFSA, what we've been talking about, and every school in the United States uses the same application. Note the word free. If you're asked to pay, don't use the site. Make sure you're on the free website. Students, when you're filling out your portion of the FAFSA, be sure to include Walla Walla University's school code, which is 003799. The FAFSA form is a federal process that qualifies students for institutional, federal, and state financial aid by collecting demographic and financial information about both the student and contributing family members. And be aware that it's not possible to enter information manually on the FAFSA, and permission is required for the FAFSA to retrieve tax information directly from the IRS. Refusing to give permission will automatically disqualify a student from receiving federal and Washington state financial aid. Again, the FAFSA application process is limited to United States citizens or permanent residents of the United States. The FSA ID you signed up for in Step 1 will be used to sign the FAFSA form. Students who are not eligible to complete a FAFSA and can demonstrate eligibility for need-based aid can complete a College Scholarship Service Profile, the CSS. The CSS profile application collects information about your family's income, assets, and expenses, and the currency conversion is automatic, so you or your parents will enter the information in your home currency. And your financial aid and your financial information will be transferred from your location to the United States for consideration. Completing the file costs $25 for the initial application, and some U.S. students may qualify for a fee waiver, which will be determined based on income and will be applied automatically. International students will need to pay the fee, and payment can be made by credit or debit card. So to fill out the CSS, visit cssprofile.collegeboard.org and use the Walla Walla U school code, which is 4940. Now, for step 3. Some schools, and Walla Walla University is one of those schools, also require their own institutional financial aid application to be submitted. Our institutional financial aid application is available on the Walla Walla U website, and this form only takes about 5 minutes to complete. Once a student has been accepted as a Walla Walla University student, an e-version of this form will become available, and we'll be sure and email and remind you and send you a link. To summarize, Student Financial Services will provide students with their official personalized financial plan once these 3 items are completed. First, students must be accepted to Walla Walla University. Second, acceptable FAFSA results must have been received. And third, the Walla Walla U financial aid application must be completed.
A lot of students have already applied for next school year. Our recruitment team has been visiting academies in the Northwest as well as academies across the United States and encouraging students to apply. However, if you or your student has not yet applied, they can do so at apply.wallawalla.edu, where they will create an application account and submit their application electronically to us. Once a student has applied, they will need to send us a copy of their academic transcript in order for us to make an admissions decision. Many colleges and universities have a deadline for applying for aid. At Walla Walla University, students need to apply for financial aid by April 30 to qualify for maximum aid. Since it takes a few days for the federal government to process the FAFSA, I do not recommend waiting until April 25 to start the process in the hopes that it will be done by April 30. While April 30 is the priority deadline, you really should start the process now. The sooner you complete the aid paperwork, the more aid may be available to you. Remember, students must be accepted before aid can be calculated. We award merit scholarships to high school students who come in with a cumulative GPA of 3.0 or higher. The higher their GPA, the larger their scholarships. This is not based on your final high school transcript. It is based on the most recent transcript at the time that the student is admitted. So it can be based on their 6th semester transcript if they apply for admission once they finish their junior year in high school. They are locked in for that amount, and it will not drop below that award. However, if their high school GPA improves after that, we will be more than happy to increase their scholarship to the next level that they're eligible for as long as we have an updated transcript. It is definitely in the interest of student and family to get accepted early and get their scholarship locked in, so request your transcript as soon as your school has it available. We also look at the students' ACT and SAT test scores, whichever gives them the highest scholarship. Their GPA, their ACT test, or their SAT test. That's the scholarship that the student will receive. If the student's permanent residence is outside Oregon or Washington, we will also give them a $2,500 out-of-area grant. In addition, we like to reward students who have been in leadership positions during their junior or senior year in high school. We can award up to $1,500 based on those leadership positions. When the student applies for admission to Walla Walla University, they can tell us each leadership position that they've held. If they take on additional leadership offices after they apply, they just need to update us and we can increase the scholarship to the maximum of $1,500. So we're talking about up to $71,500 over 4 years for a student receiving our top merit scholarship, the $2,500 out-of-area grant, and the maximum leadership award. This is equivalent to getting nearly 1.5 years of expenses covered for free. We also have scholarships for National Merit students. To qualify for the National Merit Scholarship, students take a test in October or early November of their junior year in high school. They get one chance to take the test. You can check with your high school or academy to see if your student took that test. A National Merit Committed student will be eligible for $1,000 each year in addition to our academic achievement scholarships. A semifinalist is eligible for an additional $1,500 each year. A finalist will get full tuition their first 2 years and half tuition their second 2 years with us. This would be in place of the academic achievement scholarship. We expect great things from our National Merit students, and so we ask them to maintain a 3.8 GPA to renew this scholarship each year. One thing to note about these scholarships for entering freshmen is that if you go to another school first and then decide to come to Walla Walla University, you can still receive freshman level awards as long as you haven't taken 36 or more quarter credits. This roughly translates to transferring sometime during a student's freshman year of college. If you've taken 36 or more credits, you would then be ineligible for freshman level awards and only be considered for transfer scholarships, which tend to be a lower amount. Walla Walla University is excited to announce a new scholarship available to incoming freshmen starting fall of 2026. The Spirit of Excellence Scholarship is a competitive scholarship that guarantees 100% coverage of tuition and the general fee by scholarships and grants. A limited number of scholarships will be available. Students will need to apply via an online application that requires a short essay limited to 400 words. The application opens officially on February 1. At that time, more information will be available at wallawalla.edu. But if you want a head start, you can locate the application now at wallawalla.edu/scholarships under the Freshman Scholarships section. Students who are selected and whose subsidy and achievement awards already exceed full tuition may receive an additional $1,000 award. The table you see on the screen shows criteria for the Spirit of Excellence Scholarship. Students will need to be able to show their GPA plus at least one test score from either the ACT or SAT. If your GPA or test scores don't meet criteria exactly, I encourage you to apply anyway. While there's no guarantee awarding will depend somewhat on the pool of applicants. That almost their test score could be the best of the bunch, and you might get the scholarship anyway.
Okay, let's talk about need-based aid at Walla Walla U. When you fill out the FAFSA, you'll be applying for several programs of aid, so let's look first at the grants. The maximum federal Pell Grant this year is over $7,000 per year, and we don't know if this will change for next year yet. The NPUC grant, which is funded by the annual offering for Walla Walla University, can give a student up to $750. However, the student must apply by April 30th to be eligible for this grant. Depending on the student's financial need and other resources, the Walla Walla University grant can be several $1,000s. And our high financial need Pell eligible students can receive up to $2,100 on a Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. There are a limited number of these awards, so it's important to apply early. Eligible students who are residents of Washington State may also qualify for more than $9,700 in Washington grants, and Washington State has been increasing the number of students eligible for this grant, and DACA students are eligible. The College-Bound Scholarship is for Washington State residents who signed a pledge in 7th or 8th grade to graduate from high school or homeschool with at least a 2.0 GPA, not be convicted of a felony, and to go to a college in Washington State. It does have a financial need component, but this can be over $6,000 per year. And no student is eligible for all of these programs, but I want students and parents to realize that there is a lot of financial aid available to students. There are also loan programs available. The university loan can be up to $3,600 for a student's freshman year. Freshmen can borrow up to $5,500 on the Federal Direct Loan Program, and it's called Direct because you're borrowing directly from the federal government. The government may pay some of the interest on the loan while the student's in school, but that depends on the FAFSA information. And just about everyone who is eligible to fill out the FAFSA is eligible for the direct loan. When Bill Gates's kids started college, they were eligible to take out the direct loan, although they probably weren't eligible for the interest subsidy. For additional financial aid, there is a Parent Plus loan that parents can take out, and they can borrow the difference between the cost of attendance and the financial aid the student receives with a limit of up to $20,000 per year per dependent student, with an aggregate limit of $65,000 per dependent student. For the Direct and Plus loans, the government does deduct a loan processing fee before they send the money to Walla Walla University. It's also important to remember that students must meet student academic progress standards to continue receiving federal and state financial aid. And while we encourage students to avoid loans if they can, don't let the news stories about student loans scare you. Most of these stories you hear are extreme cases rather than a typical student loan. In June, almost 40% of our graduating seniors had no student loan debt. And of the students who took out loans, the average senior left with about $35,200 in loans, which is actually less than it was a few years ago when more students were borrowing and our average loan was over $37,000. Our students are borrowing less than the national average. Student loans really are an investment in yourself, and having a college degree gives you higher earning potential. You can tell that Walla Walla U students are able to manage their student loans by looking at our default rates. And when you compare our students' default rates with the national average, you will see our graduates are able to pay back their loans. This shows that most of our students are taking out manageable student loan debt load. For our direct loans, our default rate is about 17% of the national average, and we're proud of the fact that our students take responsibility for repaying their loans. And as I also mentioned, a low default rate is an indicator that our students are borrowing a reasonable and affordable amount when compared to their future earnings.
When you compare the cost of different schools, you want to be sure you're comparing apples to apples. Make sure you look at total cost and not just tuition. Add in key items like the school's required fees. Housing and cafeteria costs vary widely, and so do other fees. Our housing and cafeteria costs have consistently been lower than most private schools and considerably lower than state schools. Also, don't forget to calculate the cost of travel for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and spring breaks. As we said before, it's our financial aid program that can make the difference in the affordability of a Christian education. So when you're looking at the total cost of each school, subtract the amount of aid you receive at each institution to see the out-of-pocket expenses for your family. Carrie, do you have any other resources that we can recommend as students and their parents start looking at how to pay for college?
Yes, now is the best time to be applying for scholarships for next year. And when you're searching for outside scholarships, the first thing I recommend you do is make a list of the scholarships you find. Record when the application is usually available and what the deadline is. How much is the scholarship? Are there requirements, such as an essay? And where did you find the information, such as a website address? And then keep checking that list to make sure you meet those deadlines. I encourage people to talk to your local public high school guidance counselor. Also, if you're attending a private school, talk with your counselor there. But the reason I recommend talking with a public school high school counselor is that when people create scholarships, they usually notify public schools, but sometimes they forget to notify private schools. So your academy may not know about some scholarships, and that's through no fault of their own. So do check in with a public high school if you're attending a private school. Ask other places that might know about scholarships. Check with your local Chamber of Commerce to see if there are any local scholarships. If a local bank has a trust department, ask there. Check community foundations. The best scholarships to apply for are the ones that have a limited pool of applicants. For example, a local electric cooperative in Walla Walla Valley gives 3 scholarships each year for $1,000 to $1,500, but you have to be a customer to be eligible to apply. So a small pool of applicants makes it more likely for the applicants to get this scholarship. Some credit unions give scholarships just to members of children of members. And again, a small pool of applicants increases your chances of winning. And also, don't just go after the big dollar amounts. A lot of people don't apply for the smaller scholarships, so that increases the odds of you winning. We had a student who ended up working in our office who came her freshman year with 7 outside scholarships that totaled $3,700. The largest was $1,000 and most were around $500, but $3,700 is a nice bonus. Another one of our student workers mentioned that his friends laughed at him for applying for a $500 scholarship. He said he spent 2 hours on the application and won the scholarship, and that $250 an hour wasn't a bad wage. The best free website we have found for scholarship searches is fastweb.com. And definitely don't pay for a scholarship search. Almost all paid scholarship searches are fraud, or they give you the same information you'd receive from a free scholarship search. Google can be a good source to find discipline-specific scholarships, and if you have a unique skill or interest, there might be a special scholarship just for you. And also, do searches for things like your city and state with the word scholarships, or your county and state and the word scholarships. On the scholarships page on our website, you'll see a section dedicated to outside scholarships, and we also have a list just for Washington State residents and links to other scholarship searches. For example, there's a scholarship for Washington State residents who are pursuing a degree in science, technology, engineering, math, or healthcare, including nursing. Over 4 years, this could be worth $17,500. There's also a great scholarship database for the state of Oregon. And don't forget to consider other sources that might contribute. Can your home church help? If a student shows financial need according to the federal formula, Walla Walla University is willing to match up to $3,000 of a home church donation. And it needs to be money coming from the church congregation and not the parents or grandparents donating the money hoping to get a match. Summer or work savings are another option too. And some students save $5,000 or $6,000 from their summer work, sometimes more. How about other relatives? Maybe grandparents want to help.
We believe that Christian education is one of the most valuable investments that you can make. It challenges students academically, connects them socially, prepares them for a successful career, and strengthens them spiritually, all within a supportive community of faith. We work hard to make Christian education accessible and affordable, and God comes through time and time again to help us make that possible. At the bottom of the slide is a link to a webpage that brings together useful information on paying for college. There are some calculators there, as well as lots of other helpful resources. We encourage students to visit Walla Walla University, and you can bring your parents with you. We will provide a campus tour that's fun and informative, led by one of our students or staff. You'll have a chance to meet with professors in your chosen department, see people in admissions and student financial services, and talk with someone about student employment. We provide free transportation from the Walla Walla and Pasco airports, and we'll also give you up to 3 nights of lodging and meals while you're here. We'll reimburse half of your travel expenses up to $350, and if you enroll as a student at Walla Walla University, you can have the other half, up to $350, applied to your school bill during the first quarter of your enrollment. If an in-person visit won't work for you, consider joining us for a virtual visit. Your virtual visit is tailored to you and your needs and can include most of what we do in person, just from the comfort of your own home. All we ask is that you give us at least 2 weeks' notice to get everything set up for you in advance. You can schedule either an in-person or online visit at wallawalla.edu/visit or by giving our office a call. Parents, we want to make sure that we have the most current information for you so that we can stay in touch with you and answer your questions. Once students are accepted to Walla Walla University, the student will be able to log into MyWWU, which is our student information system. Make sure they check the to-do list. On that list, students will see 2 or 3 items waiting. Click on each one and it will give instructions on how to complete the task. If you have questions on how to log in or how to complete a task, contact the help desk at 509-527-2317. Students, first, you'll want to make sure your and your parents' contact information is correct, especially the student's cell phone number and student and parent email addresses. We promise not to spam you with emails or texts. We just want to keep you in the loop with important informations and deadline reminders. Secondly, we'll want you to give us permission to send automated text messages to your cell phone. We won't text frequently. We just want to make sure you don't miss those critical deadlines. You may have already done this in your application, and if so, then we're not going to ask you again. Third, you'll want to set your parent permissions so that we know who we should and who we should not talk to. Students, when you get to college, you are in control of your information. We won't share your grades or discuss your financial account with your parents unless you provide permission. Parents, we want your emails on file so that you can receive our parent newsletter. It contains information to help you know what your students should be doing at each stage of the enrollment process, or other helpful information like tips from other parents who have gone through this process. We also like to email parents about tasks that need to be taken care of if the student hasn't taken care of them already. Now, Trevor, before you open this up for questions, will you go over the list of dates that students and parents should keep in mind as they approach their first day of college?
I'd be happy to. as Carrie mentioned earlier, an important reminder before I talk about the dates is that if you haven't already done your taxes for 2024, you want to file those now. Once you've done that, you set up your FSA ID and start filling out the FAFSA. Okay, now on to the important dates. The first one of these is a reminder that the FAFSA opened October 1st, so you can start filling that out right now. It's been open for a couple months, and we're packaging currently. And so you want to make sure to get that into us as soon as you can. Then we've got our March U Days that's coming up, and April U Days, which is a fantastic time to come and check out Walla Walla University and see what it's like to be a student here. You're welcome to bring your parents with you, or if your school is coming, we'd love to have you attend. During the U Days events, you'd be able to talk to teachers, meet other students, and see what life would be like here at WWU. You'd be able to tour campus, attend classes, participate in some events that we have planned just for you, win prizes, scholarships, and more. This is a great time to learn about our individualized and comprehensive financial aid program, where our financial aid office is open during certain times where you can come and chat with them in person. If you're outside of the North Pacific Union Conference Academy system, that would be academies that are Adventist in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and Alaska. You are welcome to sign up for either March U Days or April U Days. If you are attending one of those academies, you're going to be coming likely with your senior class for the April U Days. So you don't need to sign up. Your school will sign you up for that. If you'd like to sign up for those, just head to wallawalla.edu/U Days and sign up. We'd love to have you there. Okay, other important dates to keep in mind as you plan for next year. April 30 is our priority deadline for financial aid. That's also the deadline for our early bird payment of a student's enrollment fee. Let me talk a little bit about the enrollment fee. This is a $200 fee, and it is non-refundable that all students have to pay only once. It basically tells us that you plan to be here in the fall. If you pay this by April 30th and enroll for the following fall quarter, you will get $100 credited back to your student account after the 10th day of classes, once you're kind of locked into it. So once you've paid the enrollment fee, you'll be allowed to sign up for classes and reserve your room in the residence hall once those have opened for next year's freshman students. An important reminder, though, is that we really encourage you to pay that enrollment fee as soon as you're admitted and feel comfortable with your financial aid package and know for sure that you want to be at WWU in the fall. Because like I said earlier, it is non-refundable, and so pay that when you know that you're planning on coming. Also, April 30th is priority deadline for financial aid, meaning that we maximize how much free money we're able to give you if you turn in your FAFSA by that point. It's going to be a combination of FAFSA and the institutional financial aid form, as well as being admitted to the institution. You want to make sure you apply for financial aid early enough so that you'll have received your financial aid award letter quite a bit before that April 30th deadline. If you turn that all into us on April 29th, we are not going to be able to turn around and give you a financial aid package by the 30th in order for you to make that. So now is a great time to start on that process. Get it to us here, January or in February or even March. And then April, you won't have to worry about meeting that deadline and knowing if it's going to work for you. Okay, next on the calendar is Jumpstart, which begins on Sunday, September 20th. This is an important week of orientation to help your student or you get acquainted with campus, and it's required for all new students. It's very fun. They've got a lot of social activities that happen during that week for you to get to know and meet new friends, as well as a lot of different breakout sessions to help you prepare for the university and for fall classes. Then Wednesday, September 23rd, you should have paid your down payment, completed any necessary paperwork for student loans, and signed your financial clearance online. As we get close to that date, you'll be hearing from Student Financial Services on exactly what you need to do. And then on Monday, September 28th, 2026, you begin your college education at Walla Walla University. And trust me, that will come very fast from where we're at right now. I feel like the year just kind of ramps up at the beginning as you start wrapping up your senior year, and then before you know it, you're starting school, which I always love that time of year, a lot of energy. Next, there should be a slide coming up. Yep, there it is right there. You can see some important phone numbers for how to reach us. You want to jot these down or download the PDF of this presentation and give us a call. We're here to help you make a Walla Walla University education a reality for yourself or for your child. If you look over there, you can see there's quite a few different numbers. We've got academic advisement, which talks about classes and what you need to do in order to complete a degree, a bachelor's degree. You can see their phone number there as well as their email address. We've also got admissions, campus visits, recruitment office, student employment, and student financial services all listed. If you're only going to jot down one number or one email address, I'd strongly recommend that is the Admissions Campus Visit Recruitment Office. Just 800-541-8900 or info@wallawalla.edu. The reason why I say that is because that's kind of a hub where if you reach out to us, we'll make sure you get to the right location for the questions that you might have so you can get the answers. So if you're only jotting down one, make sure you do that one. Okay. Let's see. I think we're about to the point where we can start answering the questions that you guys have been submitting as the presentation has gone. Feel free to continue asking your questions using the chat box, and we'll answer them in the order that we receive them. All right, let's get to the first question. Carrie, if you can join me, I'd appreciate it. All right, Carrie, question is, can a student apply for financial aid before they have been accepted?
You can apply for financial aid before you've been accepted, but we can't package your financial aid until after you've been accepted. So if you want to go ahead and apply and have that information here ready and waiting for your acceptance, it'll help us get your financial package together faster. That's great. You can go ahead with that, but yeah, just be aware that we can't do that until after we've received notification that you've been accepted.
Great. Thank you, Carrie. Okay, next question asks, how likely am I to receive financial aid? Is it worth going through the application process?
Well, as we talked about earlier, over 94% of our Walla Walla U students qualified for financial aid last year. And last year we awarded over $42 million in student aid, which averaged out to $31,000 per student. I would encourage you that even if you're not sure about your financial situation, to send your FAFSA results to Walla Walla U. Yeah, I would expect that you will qualify for aid.
And I'll just echo, Carrie, encourage you, particularly if this is your first time doing a FAFSA, it's worth going through the process, submit it to us, see what you might get. Worst case scenario, you maybe wasted an hour or maybe a little more in filling it out. You don't have to worry about that going forward if you don't qualify in future years. But for this first year, really strongly recommend you do it because you might qualify for something that you don't necessarily think you will. So definitely turn it in for that first year. Let's see, next question is, how soon can a student apply for admission? Do they need to wait until the middle of their senior year of high school? I'm going to take this one because I work in recruitment and admissions. We actually accept students based on as early as their 6th semester transcript from high school. So if you've completed your junior year, you're eligible to apply for admission. Doing this earlier definitely has an advantage that I want to share with you guys. If you've got a great GPA on that 6th semester transcript, even your 7th semester transcript will lock your scholarship in at that level. And hopefully you're going to take some hard classes your senior year. I know that helps better prepare you for hard classes in college rather than taking the very bare minimum senior year. But sometimes students are nervous about taking those hard classes because they're afraid it'll affect their scholarship. What we do is we lock in your scholarship at the end of 6th semester or even in your 7th semester. And once we've locked it in, it can only go up, it cannot go down. So let's say your GPA were to improve throughout senior year from 6th semester to 8th semester. We're going to award you at the higher level. We just need a new transcript from you showing what your new GPA is. Same goes if you have a high ACT or SAT test score. Lock it in at a certain level, and then we'll give you the higher one if you can send us and show us that. So definitely your advantage to apply for admission as soon as you're eligible. So scholarships can only go up. They cannot go down. Of course, though, you do need to graduate from high school. We can't accept you if you've not graduated from high school. So I'll put that caveat out there, too. Okay. Next question looks like it's going to be for you again, Carrie. Carrie, once a student's financial aid package has been awarded, how do you notify the student or even the parents?
Okay, well, we'll send out an award letter, and with that award letter, we'll include a personalized financial plan that reflects our best estimate of your expenses on campus as well as your financial aid. And your estimated payments will show on the financial plan. The plans are really quite simple. We take your costs, subtract your financial aid, and then whatever's left over is divided into 3 monthly payments for each quarter. The first payment's due the Wednesday before classes. The next next two payments follow about a month apart. And when you begin the next quarter, you'll pay anything remaining for the previous quarter, plus the down payment for the new quarter. And again, this is the Wednesday before the start of classes. If you're a parent, you're looking for a financial plan, I encourage you to stay in touch with your student because we do direct most information to them. So we want them to share with you. However, if you have questions, maybe your student's away at camp and you didn't see the financial plan, you can always give us a call and we can share that with you. We're glad to do that.
Great. Thank you, Carrie. Good answer, good information. Hey, this is a good question that we get sometimes. It looks like it's going to be from a parent. It says, a friend of mine has a student at Walla Walla University, but they said they can't see their grades even though they pay the bill. Is that right? And why is that the case?
I know it doesn't seem fair, but that is right. That's the federal law. As soon as the student starts college, the student has total control over who gets to see their statement, who knows their grades. Of course, you still have some influence too. You may choose not to pay the down payment for the next quarter until they show you their grades. So just remember you've got some leverage there, but you can work out that agreement with your student.
Or you can just tell them you want to post it on the refrigerator, how well they did the quarter. That would work.
There you go.
Okay. Let me get to the next one. This is a question about aviation majors. So it says, are there any good scholarships for aviation students?
Well, most of the time I see aviation students take out private loans to cover their flight costs. Some will use Parent Plus loans, but most of the time the additional aid is loan-based. Not saying there isn't a scholarship out there, but most of the time when I see those, it's something like VA funding. I might do a search. There may be some for women in aviation. So it might be worth doing a Google search for that, but most of the time aviation students do use loans. Now keep in mind that after you graduate, you're set up to make a really good income, and we don't see, it seems like aviation majors don't generally have problems paying those loans back. So that's just something to keep in mind. So you are investing in yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And also, speaking of aviation, there's some unique things that you can do in aviation to help reduce your costs, such as a lot of it is based upon what kind of licensure you're getting and how fast you're getting that. So there's times where you can actually get the ability to train other pilots and get that licensure. And then you can actually be hired as a trainer through the university where the student that you're training is paying for your hours and your fuel expense. So there's some ways you can kind of speed along that to help you save some money that's kind of unique to the institution. So I'd recommend, if you don't have your pilot's license yet, if you can work on that and you come even more prepared to stay maybe over some breaks to accrue more hours, that's a great way for aviation students to kind of get a leg up and to help lower their expenses. Enough about aviation. Next question is, can international transfer students apply for scholarships before being accepted to the university? I've already applied, but I'm still uploading my documents to the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can apply for financial aid, you can apply for scholarships. Some things are probably going to depend on if you're accepted or not, but it never hurts to get that information in early.
And some of those, particularly their outside scholarships, they can go to possibly other colleges as well. So if you didn't get admitted, they might go towards that. In terms of what the university offers you for scholarshiping, that is kind of like behind the admission. So after you're admitted and the decision has been made, that is when we would put together what kind of scholarships you get. And if you're an international student for next fall, there is something called the CSS profile you can fill out, which might make you eligible for some need-based aid that the university is willing to give. So those are two, but usually you kind of have to wait until you get admitted for us to start awarding the Walla Walla scholarships. But you can see what you get based upon our scholarship information online. Next question. I heard that theology majors potentially can get free tuition. Is this true? And then does it apply to theology majors that are pre-med, or do they have to go to the ministry to get this?
So you've probably heard about the Next Gen Pastors Grant, and we did have a number of cohorts that went through with that. Unfortunately, that's not something that we're offering right now. If it becomes available in the future, we would definitely look at our theology students or once, for consideration, but right now it's not available.
Yeah, that's one of the things the university every few years will kind of change up how we do scholarships. Like sometimes it's the amount, sometimes This year, we're offering the new Spirit of Excellence Scholarship, which is that free tuition, if you can qualify for that. So kind of depends on the year, so it's always good to check. The good news, though, is that those continue, and you kind of lock in those scholarships as you move through the program, which is good. So you know exactly what you're going to get, and then we don't kind of switch it around on you your sophomore, junior, senior year.
Yeah, and even though that particular program isn't available right now, it doesn't mean you might not still get an excellent financial aid package, so I would still apply.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Carrie. Particularly, like you might qualify for a lot of additional FAFSA aid that can come in. So really just depends on your family situation. So filling out the paperwork, well worth your time to see what it actually looks like. Okay, it looks like we're getting near the end of the question and answer period. If you have any more questions, make sure you put them in the chat box. Carrie and I are happy to stick by until we answer all of your questions. But I've got about 2 right now left, so put them in if we haven't gotten to it yet. So I want to make sure we're able to answer them before we sign off for the evening. Okay, this one says, I'm an ISE missionary in Ethiopia and not a U.S. citizen, but my son who is applying is a U.S. citizen. Can he still apply for FAFSA or loans or any other scholarships?
If he's a U.S. citizen, he's eligible for U.S. financial aid, so he should be able to fill out the FAFSA and apply for federal aid.
Yep. And also, he's going to get scholarships that come from the institution if he qualifies, which is having a certain ACT or SAT test score or a 3.0 or above on the 4.0 U.S. education system scale. So if he's at those ones, he'll also be eligible for some scholarships. Also, if he has any leadership that he's done his junior or senior year of high school, he may qualify for up to $1,500 for that award as well. And he'll for sure qualify for an out-of-area scholarship because he doesn't live in Washington or Oregon State. And so that's an additional $2,500 a year. Okay, looks like this may be the last question. Cross your fingers. We'll see if we get any more, Carrie. And it is, can you make payments with a credit card without fees?
So there is a processing fee with the credit card, but you can use a debit card without a fee. You can make an electronic payment from a bank account, send in a paper check, call in and do any of that over the phone, but there is a processing fee with the credit cards.
Great. Thank you, Carrie. And that looks like it brings us to the end of the question and answer period. I'd like to thank you all for watching this presentation. I'd also like to thank both Mindy Coleman and Carrie Butler for being with us this evening. And I'd also like to thank Chris Drake, who you have not seen, who's been running the presentation in the background throughout this evening. I hope you found this presentation helpful and that you feel more prepared to take the next steps towards your college adventure. We'd love to have you or your child at Walla Walla University. And if a Walla Walla University education is in God's plan for you or their life, we'll do everything we can to make it work for you. You have our promise and our prayers. Also, before you leave and sign off, we'd love to have your feedback about today's presentation. When we sign off, please take a moment to take a brief survey at wallawalla.edu/comment. Again, that's wallawalla.edu/comment. We'd really like to know what was helpful that we talked about and how we can make this presentation better next time for those who join us. And I'll tell you, we read through every single one that comes through, and that's actually helped inform what we do in this presentation, as well as we offer some presentations in the summer for new students to help prepare them over the summer months for what they can expect in the fall. If you think of something you forgot to ask or didn't have an opportunity to do so, you can always give us a call at 800-541-8900. Again, 800-541-8900. Or you can email us at info@wallawalla.edu. So again, that's info@wallawalla.edu. We look forward to you being a part of our family next fall quarter, and I hope you all have a wonderful night.